Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas continues with match number 3. We're in the winners bracket here. Monsanto able to beat Gallon in a nail biter series, up now against lnguagehackr. Now, the winner of this will advance to the top 4 tomorrow. So keep that in mind as both players really want to get this win because it means one additional point, TJ, which makes them that much more likely to advance and place in the upper division for weeks number 4 through 7.
That is right. And lnguagehackr found himself in the top 8 last week, which means that he would be in pretty good position, finishing, on average above half the field in the first 2 weeks. It would put him in prime position to, just have a decent performance in week 3, and he'll be a lock for Division A. Taking a look at his list, he's got No Hands Warrior, Resurrect Priest, and Spell Druid. So pretty standard stuff across the board. I think Resurrect Priest is becoming more popular and more of a staple in these high-tier lineups. His fourth deck is the Tempo Demon Hunter, which has been banned away. Meanwhile, Monsanto playing Highlander Rogue, Agrawar, and Spell Druid, and the Dragon Hunter with featuring Stone Tuskboar.
Got banned
away.
TJ.
It got banned. That's right.
Weird.
Well, I think, had the potential to beat a few of the decks in lnguagehackr's lineup, notably the Priest and the Druid. Those are a couple of the decks that I feel like Monsanto's been kind of capitalizing on with his aggressive Dragon Hunter deck. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, and I think that No, you're totally right. I think that the aggressive hunter would have actually been pretty strong against some of these things that's not the warrior. So lnguagehackr going to start off with warrior, Monsanto with the druid. Druid has been pulling a lot of weight for today's matches in the Americas, but this could be a matchup that goes the opposite direction. Monsanto not having access to his hunter means that he has fewer options to tackle lnguagehackr's lineup that has a lot of it's got a lot of everything, right? It's got an aggressive deck, it's got a slow deck, it's got a combo-oriented deck. So I don't blame him not exactly sure knowing how to start. With Last Year Standing, I think if you feel like you have a deck that's kind of weak against everything, in this case, Druid potentially being vulnerable to Priest and to Warrior and to Demon Hunter, then you might as well just start Druid because it doesn't seem like it has any good matchups. Its best matchup might be the Mirror.
Well, at least that feels better than playing Conquest when you have a deck that has 3 bad matchups because you lose with it and then, okay, it's out of the way. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Well, lnguagehackr, he does have that is not a Cobalt Sticky Fingers. That is from a
Time waits for no one.
a Sky Raider. That is a natural Cobalt Sticky Fingers that he has decided to put into his deck. And we talked about some interesting tech choices as we move into a Last Hero Standing format for this week, and that is one of them because it opens up this Warrior deck as being a counter deck to other Warrior decks because Cobalt Sticky Fingers massive tempo swing. And sometimes you get the bonus of lining it up against like a Galakron Claw or something along those lines, but it seems like it's specifically for Warrior, at least mainly.
Yeah, the Cobalt Sticky Finger, I think, was also a nod to lnguagehackr anticipating potentially facing Warrior Mirrors. There's a handful of people that widely believe that Warrior could be the best class in the game right now. Not necessarily because the other classes are weak by any means. Demon Hunter's still very good. There's an argument that Priest might be a little bit too strong as well right now. But overall, largely, people have come to accept that Warrior is one of the most versatile and powerful classes right now. And I almost feel like there's not too many bad matches with the Warrior that's completely unwinnable.
No, and I don't really think there's many polarized matchups like that, period, in the metagame currently, where it just feels like you can't win. So and Warrior just seems like overall solid deck. Right now, the Language Hacker is struggling with not too much power to be placed on the board. No Battle Rage drawn yet, so you can't really set up a lot of damage minions to get the card draw. No Risky Skipper. Kind of same thing. I think right now he's worried about, well, what happens if Monsanto coins out a Glowfly Swarm? I don't have a way to deal with it. And so he's thinking about just playing as much stuff onto the board as possible. So if a Glowfly Swarm does come out, he at least can clean up a good chunk of it. But his hand is looking pretty slim. Obviously, it'll be unlocked by a couple of key draws like Anchor or Battle Rage. But he needs a lot more than that if he's expecting big waves of threats to come up from Monsanto. But that honestly just doesn't exist for Monsanto right now. He's kind of got dead stuff. No card draw, or well, plenty of card draw, but hidden behind 3 more mana crystals and no ramp picked up thus far. So not able to accelerate his turns to get to Overflow and Kael'thas. No Glowfly Swarm to build a board. He's doing a whole lot of nothing, it seems, at this point in time.
Yeah, he'd have to dump a card somehow here, and no matter what he chooses, ends up being kind of awkward. This is sort of what we're talking about with why the Warrior seems to be in a good position. I was kind of trailing off a little bit while I was like trying to look at just the data a little bit closer and analyze it, and it seems like overall Warrior, while being one of the most popular classes this weekend, also has one of the worst win rates. And it's also reflected on ladder as well, which is particularly interesting to me, TJ. I thought that part of the reason why the win rate was significantly lower on websites like HS Replay was because it's a harder deck. So I thought that perhaps if it was in the hands of Grandmasters players, that it would sort of like bump the win rate significantly, similar to what we've seen in the past with really complicated decks. But the win rate's relatively similar, so it makes me think maybe people are overvaluing Warrior. But when you have dominant leads like this, maybe we're not. It could just be the fact that it's the last hero standing and you're picking counters into things like Warrior to make sure that it dies.
Well, I also think that looking at the statistics for the Swiss rounds for Americas doesn't give you a good picture, because the win rate for Warrior is being incredibly dragged down by the control Warriors that played throughout the week. Because while I think 4 players in Americas, let me double check. Yes, 4 players in America brought control Warrior. None of them made it to the top 8. So, or maybe one of them. At least none of them made it to today. So very little, and a lot of them finished pretty far down in the standings. So that's kind of a good indication of the of that deck not really performing well. And you could see it even struggling a lot for the players that did bring it in Europe, where even in matchups that it was supposed to win, it either barely scraped by or didn't even pick up wins, period. So I think that it's just kind of a solid deck. I wouldn't call it fantastic. I don't think that it's a deck that you just have to worry about sweeping every series, but I'd say that it can take wins against everything, and it has some turns that are just impossible to be able to play against. But right now, I mean, Language Hacker's kind of just playing his stuff and beating up Monsanto, and there's not really much that he's been able to do. But we've reached the 7-mana turn.
Is it too late, though? It's very late. He's staring at 9 HP. Language Hacker chose not to develop the Blood Boil Brute. I think that's a little bit of a tough call to make, because while Blood Brute is way more stats onto the board, he's clearly presenting a 2-turn lethal, and he can still play Brute from the hand to help get through things, versus the Sticky Finger could not. So I think I like that choice a little bit better. But let's see what this Kael'thas can do. He wants to dump so he can overflow. Is
for
this really
full value?
happening?
I think I'm willing to
Burn
overdraw one card in order to not have to play that Soul of the Forest.
My hand is too full. I'm waiting for no one.
Well, he can still play Glowfly Swarm,
Right.
and take off this power. So, ends up being pretty decent, all things considered. And has follow-up to this too with Gift of the Wild. Ooh! A swing and a miss.
Yeah,
War Golem picked up for Language Hacker.
That doesn't really do enough. Because Blastmaster Boom has nothing really to summon.
What now?
So he could trade both of his Blood Boil Brutes plus the Wormont Challenger into the Kael'thas. They would survive, and then he could pick apart a couple of these Glowflies, but there'd still be some on the board at the end of the turn, which is not something that you want to see. And obviously this is just proper sequencing, so we can fit in an armor up. But with Gift of the Wild, Power of the Wild, Soul of the Forest in hand for Monsanto, all he needs is a couple minions to be able to start kind of making a push back into this game. A game where he didn't do anything for like 7 turns.
Yeah, is the Druid can actually win this?
Yeah.
See, Gift of the Wild something I'm looking at, but can we do something even better? Could we use Exotic Mount Seller in this position? Thinking yes. I think I'd rather do that.
Yeah, like Exotic Mount Seller, Innervate Power of the Wild, something along those lines.
Yeah, potentially Wrath to kill off the 6/2 instead.
Yeah, but then you might be worried. No, I guess you have enough board space.
What if instead we went for a Soul of the Forest play this turn? Wow, this turn actually has a lot of different ways you can go about it.
Yeah.
You could obviously just raw Gift of the Wild and just go for ultimate power. You could go for a Soul of the Forest setup with Glowfly Swarm. And you could also just kind of go with the original play we were suggesting, which is a Mount Seller Innervate. Kind of react to how things are going. I do like Wrath. Just because you do have Glowfly Swarm and Gift of the Wild, and so like Power of the Wild really goes well with that package, and Wrath kind of summoning a minion is also very good. And Language Hacker losing grip of the board here. No Battle Rage. You can see how important the card draw is to this deck, but it's not over yet. Language Hacker does have the ability to kill this Mounted Seller, I believe. It would take all of his minions colliding into it, though.
What now?
And a Rampage.
At least they are Death Rattle minions that summon 3/4. You're not left with a completely empty board.
That is true.
I'm just looking at the bright sides
powerful
here.
Mount Seller. Like, if you think about the Mount Seller, it's a 5/8 minion. It's more powerful than some of the most iconic characters in WoW that's been transformed to a Hearthstone card.
Yeah, well,
Very
there's a lot of
exotic indeed.
There's a lot of minions like that.
I know, it's just like
random things that are 10/10s.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
Anyways, that kind of immersion aside, in terms of what we're talking about, Monsanto has that board building presence that we're kind of talking about that he's able to pull out here. He's got the Power of the Wild and the Soul of the Forest. That was one of the first things I was looking at, but he did pick up this Overflow, which is also kind of intriguing to me. He can trade into this Challenger and then Overflow first. The only problem is that it doesn't actually develop right afterwards.
Yeah. I think he just needs to develop. I wouldn't even mind, like trade in or Soul of the Forest, Power of the Wild, some combination of that.
Time waits for no one.
Yeah. Okay, so he had 6 spells in hand. I think I would have also been very okay with a couple of trades and then Glowfly Swarm and then Soul of the Forest. Yeah, I think all of those are okay because they still end up clearing most of the board.
Yeah.
Oh, he wanted to clear the board entirely. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he went for the other play, I don't think he would have been able to clear off everything the way he did and still have a board this strong. So this was a good line by Monsanto because now he cleared off the board and still presented power for Gift of the Wild. Language Hacker picks up Anchor. That's still good. He picked up the Pirates now, so over course of few turns he'll draw cards.
It's still good, but he might have even been hoping for Wrench Caliber. Because that would have allowed him like a couple of maybe potential outs for ending the game. But Gift of the Wild is likely going to put a stop to any hope that Language Hacker had of trying to get a comeback, because now he has to take 5 in order to just pick up another pirate. And I just don't think he has enough time or enough minions that he could draw outside of maybe like a Battle Rage pickup here to string together enough to clear off this board.
And that's it. Language Hacker concedes. Monsanto's Druid will not be denied. Druid is the deck of the day so far. And it just keeps going. And this is last year's standing, so the Druid will just continue on. It's not done yet. And, Language Hacker might have to turn to his Priest now to answer this Druid.
Yeah, he should know way too well that it's not a surefire thing, the Priest, because he was able to win this particular matchup earlier on in the day when he 3-0'd Delayed with his Druid. So, and he also has, he does have the redundancy in the removals. He has double Breath of the Infinite, double Holy Nova, double Plague of Death, plus Soul Mirror, and Shadow Madness. So, yeah, and double Mass Dispel. That's everything, I'm pretty sure. That's as much AoE whatever that you could possibly play in Priest.
I'm looking at the deck list too, and it just seems like it is designed to try and stop Druid.
It's literally everything. It's like everything.
I don't feel like you use any cards missing outside of maybe Holy Smites to help answer early game board states.
Yeah.
Looks like Language Hacker very clearly was prepared for the possibility of going up against Druid with this Priest deck. And it looks like we're going to go into game number 2. That Priest has some early game minion curve. Monsanto picks up Kael'thas and Overflow. Those are keeps, right? It doesn't keep the Overflow. Interesting. Okay. Part of me thought that you would want to keep Overflow so that way you can have like these insane Kael'thas turns. But it seems like he doesn't value it high enough because he says, I'm going to either pick it up later or he'd rather have other cards. That's interesting to me. What do you think about that, TJ?
I'm honestly not sure. Because you don't really want to just like play Glowfly Swarms onto boards, right? Onto like empty boards, because chances are it's going to get removed. You need to go for big Kael'thas turns, and you also need them to be huge the first time you do it. Hopefully, ideally, you'd like to have that before turn 9, so they can't Plague of Death. That it feels like, especially with the way that Language Hacker has built his list of Priests, with essentially every AoE removal that Priest can possibly have, it does seem like you'd prioritize that card draw and try and go for the big turns. Well, he got it anyway, so whatever.
He knew. That's why. That's the other Overflow, and he was specifically trying to make sure he didn't draw that second one.
Yeah, the hard mull for the second Overflow. That specific one.
Yes.
I see.
Truly big-brained. But in all seriousness, I think he just wanted to make sure that he had playable cards in the beginning. And I think that if you hold Overflow and Kael'thas, there's a high risk that you end up holding like 8 cards by the time you can play Kael'thas Overflow.
Yeah, that's also true.
Also, the importance of ramp, getting Overgrowth and Wild Growth, very, very core to what you need to be doing. So that makes also a lot of sense to me. So the more I think about it, the more I think Monsanto is correct. And as it should be, given that he has played nonstop Hearthstone. And he is very well versed with the deck that he brought today. Also, this is insane. This is ridiculous turn coming up soon.
Yeah, he can do everything. He can do everything as long as Language Hacker plays it. Well, actually, he could do it even if Language Hacker didn't play a minion, but ideally, Language Hacker would play a minion. Oh my god.
What on Earth. Well, Monsanto does know that Language Hacker has 2 Master Spells. Oliver, TJ's newborn son, is extremely excited.
So we have a gate that separates the room I'm in with the kitchen, and he was standing at the gate protesting, just screaming. He was saying, "Kale Thos, Kale Thos."
That's fun. We have our own peanut gallery here, the Hearthstone Grandmasters for America's TJ's son.
Yeah. He's got to go. If he wants to go this turn, he goes now.
He needs to go now.
Energy, power. My people are addicted to it.
I guess the issue is the over. Okay, he can do it in this order. So that way the overflow comes second.
Right.
So he doesn't heal this first reborn minion back up. Now you go, you overflow, and now he doesn't even have enough time. Oh, he's just going to go for the Gift of the Wild. Okay, no, this is smart.
So the Gift of the Wild is because he knows that Overflow can refill his hand if this doesn't work out, and I think he's just anticipating Language Hacker to have the answer, which is a generous interpretation of Language Hacker's hand. Although, he kind of does over the course of 2 turns.
Yeah, if he goes Breath of the Wild, Shadow or Death, trade, he takes 17, but then he gets the Holy No-Bid back. The only problem is if he sets that up and then Soul of the Force comes out, then he's sad.
He's sad, but he's
alive?
He's alive, and I think that given the alternative, I think that's much better because you wouldn't be dead. I think you're really scared of Savagor ending the game here, and so I think we'll just take what we can get.
Yeah. So, by doing it this way, he did give him some extra info, right?
Right.
That there's a dragon in hand.
Overflow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the overflow. That.
Oh gosh. So Monsanto can push 17 here. And then there's not much else to do, so I think he's just chilling. So then if you're Language Hacker in this position, your only minion that's died is Bone Wraith, and so Psychopomp will revive that. You don't have any ways to kill off this board, and your opponent just drew 5 cards. Woo! That's a woof from me, dog.
That was the stone cold nuts.
In terms of how everything panned out, yes. I think Hacker trying to rack his brain. Is there anything that he can do about this? His best play might be Bone Wraith and heal himself. Or the Sand of Water Bearer.
If he plays Sand of Water Barrier, he's dead on board.
Yes, because there's 18 damage. So.
The end begins.
This is his only play, I think, other than Holy Nova Penance. That keeps him alive. So they're just going to cash in on the penance now, just to bank on the healing. And that is lethal.
Yes, Bog Beam and Crystal Power and Hero Power will help you through the taunt. He's got 17 afterwards. 2-0 lead for the Druid.
That is a priest deck that seems like it's specifically designed to beat this very matchup. Double Breath of the Infinite, double Holy Nova, double Master Spell, Soul Mirror, double Plague of Death.
Spell Druid is crushing, and perhaps that prediction that the Kael'thas nerf wouldn't really impact a lot about Druid's performance is completely founded in truth. Spell Druid looks really good right now. And I know that, the data kind of shows that there's other classes and decks that are outperforming it, but right now Druid's kind of running away with it. Today in Americas, If you look at the overall class win percentages, though, Druid has been underperforming massively this week, which is even more surprising. Druid coming into today, TJ, after the Swiss games have been played, was at 43% win rate. That's so low compared to like what you expect. And I guess maybe Variance is finally catching up, right? Druid can't be a 43% win rate deck. That's just not, that doesn't sound right. That makes it sound like a tier 4 deck. In that case, all the Grandmasters are silly for bringing it, which is a possibility, but it's a very, very, very small possibility. Yeah. And its win rate won't stay at 43 the more games it plays. It'll probably climb close to that 50%. So I think we were overdue for Druid to be performing. If anything, it's been underperforming. But this is very surprising, to say the least.
It is. It is. lnguagehackr 3-0'd earlier. We're on the verge of a 3-0 from Monsanto's perspective, and now we get to see a Druid mirror. So one way or another, Druid is going to win this one too. But it's also going to get a loss, so closer to parity, I guess. But they do have some differences in their lineups, some very subtle differences. One of them being the Ysera Unleashed from lnguagehackr. And whereas Monsanto plays a Forest Aid as kind of his, quote-unquote reload. Another one is Monsanto plays the single Soul of the Forest, whereas lnguagehackr plays double Soul of the Forest. And that's about it. There's some differences early on with 1 Crystal Power on the side of Monsanto, whereas there's 2 Crystal Powers on the side of lnguagehackr, and double Wild Growth for Monsanto. So a little bit more consistency and ramp, what you're seeing now.
Yeah, well, lnguagehackr has that ramp. Oh my goodness.
All right, now it's lnguagehackr's turn, I feel. So effectively the Druid mirror, the biggest thing that you have to understand is that essentially whoever gets on the board first has a massive advantage. Unless Starfall is thrown into the equation, which neither of these players have. If you get a full board of Glowfly Swarm down and have anything reasonable to back it up, you are ahead. That's how that's what it boils down to. But there can be opportunity for swing turns when it comes to Kael'thas, right? If your opponent plays Glowfly Swarm and you just play a bigger Glowfly Swarm board with the help of Kael'thas, then that's where you can kind of come back. But being the player that gets to dictate where the minions attack, that's where you want to be in this matchup, so you just want to get on the board first. And at this point in time, it looks like lnguagehackr is going to get onto the board first just because he has the Kael'thas plus overflow play, a lot of cheap spells. It's going to be ramped up quite nicely. Monsanto just has nothing at the moment. He has no minions outside of a second Power of the Wild token that he could even play. But this is his window of opportunity. He picks up a Glowfly Swarm right now.
Oh.
Oh, well.
So Monsanto, he's clearly planning for his next turn. So next turn, it's like Kael'thas, couple free spells, into what? Into free spells, into overflow. He needs to have things sequenced out correctly right now. And does that mean he ends up playing a couple cards from his hand this turn? I don't think he needs to, because he already has cards like Ironbark and Bogbeam to be free.
Well, he needs hand space.
Yeah, but those cards are always dumpable onto Kael'thas.
Yeah, but they're not dumpable in the sense that you can just dump them all at once. He needs hand space to be able to cast the initial overflow.
Right.
So I would dump actually a decent amount here. Yeah, Crystal Power, Power of the Wild. Because then he still has 4 0-mana spells next turn with Kael'thas.
Jeez. Could have had 6.
People are addicted to it.
And so we're going to have 2 back-to-back massive turns here. And I like that lnguagehackr wasn't hesitating. And Monsanto, disappointed to see it. Looks like he lost the race. Little too slow, and now we get to see a dramatic board swing turn. Is lnguagehackr just going to deck out this turn?
It's definitely possible.
I hope so. That'd be just so fitting.
He also hit the wild growth, which is just a reset within itself. Yeah, but I guess
play it.
Yeah, I can't play it now. He spent the mana.
So his next spell is free. You know, all things considering, this was a rather tame Kael'thas turn. But the idea is that this Kael'thas is unkillable, and Monsanto does not have a board to trade into it, because Language Hacker used a lot of his removal.
Gift of the Wild.
Gift of the Wild keeps Kael'thas more likely to be alive here. But so does Power of the Wild.
Alright, Monsanto's turn.
Oh my goodness, okay. Here we go. He has to sequence this.
Dan, Hearthstone is unrecognizable to me these days. Like,
Language Hacker's like,
do you remember the good old days when you just like ramp into a Spectral Knight and that was how you won the game? Where you played a 4-6 that your opponent couldn't hit with spells.
No,
you played a Chillwind Yeti on one.
No, I don't remember that.
That was the most power you could have. Now it's just, who knows, you know? You can play 20 cards in a turn, and then your opponent will play 20 cards in their turn.
Well, Monsanto is thinking about how he can kill this Kael'thas, because the problem is that if he damages it and goes for another, like, overflow setup, he most likely he's going to heal it. So I think he just has to pick apart the other stuff.
Well, he can play Glowfly Swarm, and so then even if Language Hacker goes off with a big board of his own, he still is the one dictating the trades into the board.
Right.
The problem is he doesn't kill Language Hacker's Kael'thas. His Kael'thas will very likely die. Well, actually, maybe that's too soon. So Language Hacker has played one Crystal Power and both Bog Beams.
I supply only the finest creatures.
You know, and I kind of wonder if not like holding onto that Iron Bark was a very subtle difference, because I think Monsanto was at 9 cards when he played his Overflow, which meant that there's a possibility that Monsanto could have kept his Kael'thas even more, or buffed it even more and kept it more alive. Oh wow! Scissor appears off of the summon from the exotic Mount Cellar. And this just has to be too much to come back from, right? Yeah, this is game over. 100%. Because Language Hacker has such a dominant position onto the board, and Monsanto can't even come close to answering this kind of tempo swing because Language Hacker's killing the Kael'thas.
Yeah. I mean, that Rush minion ended up being pretty crucial, though. If he didn't pick up a Rush minion, then he doesn't kill the Kael'thas. He would have been a damage short. And then maybe he could have swung it back, but yeah, this is over.
Yeah, like I think that's the only one thing that potentially could have influenced the way this game panned out for Monsanto was whether or not he should have held maybe that Iron Bark that he played earlier, because he wouldn't have had 10 cards, or he wouldn't have overdrawn at that point, and that might have kept his Kael'thas alive. But again, that's like if specifically he knew how Language Hacker's hand was going to work, and if he was even fortunate enough for things to pan out that way, a lot could have changed. Like I'm not saying that was a misplay. I'm saying that was a way that things could have been different. And I don't even think it would have been that different, to be honest. Monsanto cleaning up as best as he can, but cleanup duty is not really what job that you want to be in this matchup. And Language Hacker staves off the sweep with the Druid win over the Druid. TJ, the only time Druid has lost today so far has been to another Druid. Just wanted to point that out
against
for you.
Everything else. That's insane. And Language Hacker better hope for his sake that that trend continues, because it's his only deck remaining. Monsanto does have Warrior plus Highlander Rogue as his 2 options. And I wonder what he goes with. Probably the Highlander Rogue. Actually, I don't know. I'm not too sure about this one. He has Waste Warden tech in his Highlander Rogue, which makes it slightly better.
Yeah, I would probably say Warrior is better outfitted to fight against it. And if he loses, then he might be in a situation where the Druid would reverse sweep. And then TJ, Druid would just actually be undefeated for the day for the first 3 matches.
Yeah.
And Monsanto would have to play in the lower bracket.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and go into game number 4. I kind of thought that Monsanto had the momentum on his side to end it, but the Druid Mirror could really go either way, and ended up falling towards lnguagehackr, who has quite a hand. He's got Wild Growth into the Glowfly Swarm. It'll be a little bit of time before we get to that point, though. Monsanto does have also a very explosive opening hand. If he can get things set up.
Yeah. Monsanto not running the Serpent Egg plus Terran Gorfiend version of the deck. Instead, as you can see, he's got a pair of Imprisoned Vile Fiends in the deck at the 2-mana slot. And then a pretty consistent curve all the way up. But, all the stuff that you would normally see in the deck with the Risky Skippers, Interrage Armorsmith, Battle Rage, Corsair Cache, with Livewire Lance being his weapons of choice in combination with the Anchor. And then 1 Corker Elite and 2 Rampages, just for the possibility of combos at some point in the game, but it seems like his Bloodsworn Mercenaries are more so for the tempo. And right now it's about, finding the Anchor, picking up the Risky Skippers. Because as long as you have a Risky Skipper, you can deal with just about anything that the Druid's going to throw at you. And that's why this matchup is usually Warrior favorite. The other one is because sometimes they just kill you. Yeah, lnguagehackr was hoping that was a Livewire Lance. It was more likely to pick up Livewire Lance, obviously, but he was just hoping to dodge the possibility of Risky Skipper coming in down really early because he's got a hand that can capitalize on a slow start.
Right.
This would be 5 Glowflies.
Still very good to put out that much stats on turn 5. I think a lot of times people look at this card, Glowfly Swarm, and say, I want to get 7 minions onto the board. 5 is still really good. You put out 10/10 of stats on turn 5. That just sounds insane.
Yeah. It sounds insane because it is insane.
Right. Well, it's insane in theory and in practice. There's a lot of times where we've said, well, this is just this sounds ridiculous, so I'm just going to do it, and then it ends up not being super good because the trade-off isn't really there, but there's not really that much trade-off for Glowfly Storm. You just have to not play a few cards the first few turns. That's not too difficult.
No, not at all.
Especially with the amount of card draw in Druid as a class right now.
Yep, and ultimately, lnguagehackr comes to that decision of playing the Glowfly Swarm. I mean, if this lives, then he's got a ton of follow-up, right? If most of the stuff lives. And Monsanto currently doesn't have clean ways to deal with it. No Risky Skipper, and doesn't even have a guaranteed Risky Skipper from this next Anchor swing, because he still has 1 more. No, he doesn't. It is a guaranteed Risky Skipper, actually.
I believe
that's it.
So.
Yeah. It was lnguagehackr who is the one who's playing the natural Kobold Sticky Fingers.
That's right. Sticky Fingers just doesn't want to leave,
Yeah.
He's sticky.
Yep. Storm and Minions still work for Risky Skipper purposes.
Also, this incidentally sets up good Battle Rage opportunities for the next turn.
Yep.
Finds a Sousy deckhand, which may be useful later on. lnguagehackr has the opportunity to go for an overflow play right now. Seems entirely reasonable to me.
Yep, want to make sure he gets rid of that risky skipper, or else it makes it very easy for Monsanto to set up a battle rage turn because it go back to full health, so he can get even more minions underneath it. Let's see what lnguagehackr picks up. Okay, second Glowfly Swarm, but with this last swing of the anchor, lnguagehackr will know with 100% certainty that second risky skipper is there because he saw both Sky Raiders and then he saw many swings.
And then if you're Monsanto, you just develop this sticky finger onto the board. So sticky.
So, fingers. I don't know.
There's only one finger. It's not sticky fingers.
Well, his name is Sticky Finger. He has many multiple fingers, right?
Right. I haven't watched many 007 movies, but
did you ever play with those?
Not as menacing.
Did you ever play with those things that you like? It's like a hand that's super sticky, and it's like on a stretchy band.
Like a sticky finger, sticky hand,
sticky hand.
Yeah, it basically kind of was like on a. Is on one end it was a stick, and then it kind of had like this really long gelatin hand that would like you could throw things, it would just slap them, right?
Yeah, and you bring it to school and just steal papers off of your neighbor's desks.
You would mess with people's exams. You just like throw it while people are taking notes. God, they made so many toys to troll teachers' pets back in the day. It was great.
Yep.
That's kind of how I imagine. I kind of wish that was the animation. If you played Cobalt Sticky Finger and you stole a weapon, I wish you kind of just like slapped your opponent's hero.
It was a sticky gelatin hand that just slapped the weapon.
Yes, but first it would gently caress Malfurion's massive pecs, and then it would grab the weapon from him. I know that's not possible unless you're playing Wild and you're stealing Twig of the World Tree. But let a man dream, will you?
I don't think Monsanto wants to part ways with his second risky skipper yet.
No, this seems a little bit premature. Don't worry, sticky fingers on the job. Wow, Korkon trade? That feels bad.
It feels bad, but it feels like that's how you win. The problem that I see for Monsanto is he's going to use a lot of resources to clear off all of this stuff, and lnguagehackr still has multiple waves of threats. Now, the issue is, can he draw them in time? Because he has exotic mount seller right now, even though it's not the largest exotic mount seller, it still is one. Actually, yeah, I think this is better than like Rising Wind Soul of the Forest. Because I talked about it earlier, but lnguagehackr is also playing the Ysera Unleash in his deck. So once that's picked up, then Monsanto has to end the game quickly before the portals start to become an issue. And if he uses Korkon Elite and shuts off his combo, since that's his only one, he no longer has ways to end the game fast.
Yeah, and he does have a big Battle Rage opportunity. But it's kind of middling at best right now. Okay, well, let's go for it. Let's see what happens.
Yep. What else are you going to do?
Yeah, did he draw both of his weapons, by the way?
Both of his Livewire Lances? He still has one more Livewire Lance in the deck.
Ugh.
Still has one more Livewire Lance in the deck.
So this was another, like, rooted problem that I saw with this skipper play, was that he's not actually even dealing with the board entirely, and it's somewhat blown up in his face here.
That's a pretty significant issue.
Yep, against a token-based deck, you kind of want to clear their board. And it's about to get a lot worse for him, too, because lnguagehackr has Soul of the Forest next turn. He's going to lose his risky skipper, and I think lnguagehackr is pretty much just going to tie the series. Monsanto concedes.
Druid is still undefeated, Dan.
Druid is virtually undefeated still. I mean, it lost to another Druid, but I don't think that really counts. And now, TJ, we're going to go into the final game of this series.
Rogue
versus
Druid.
We're going to find if Rogue can take down this Druid.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. Especially just with the way these Druid panouts have been, right? There's even in games where it felt like the hands were sort of dead, they weren't dead. They were just waiting for Kael'thas, and then they won the game. That's essentially what happened.
Yeah.
And Monsanto's playing Highlander Rogue, which does not have that consistent of like early game presence, but does have some things that could help. Like I mentioned, the Waste Warden, sure. Zephyrus, obviously, for big sweeping board clears. But a lot of times it's awkward to use Zephyrus because, one, Zephyrus will not offer board clears if a Glowfly Swarm comes down on curve because they just don't exist in the classic card pool. And two, once you get to the point where there's a beefy board with like Soul of the Forest, like all of a sudden Twisting Nether's not a possibility. It makes things awkward. So Zephyrus is not often a great tool at reacting to boards that come like on curve from the Druid, but it can still be of help.
One more time, can Language Hacker use the Druid to complete the reverse sweep? This is a great opening for Rogue, though.
Yes, it is.
It's a fantastic opening, and he can't answer this Hanar.
Look at that mysterious music, Dan.
Very
you know what
ominous.
that means?
What does that mean?
I don't know. Secrets, I guess.
I always kind of anticipate Hanar to just snap and then make your board disappear. I feel like that would be a much more thematic thing based off the art, but Hanar's got all of these secrets that are going to be generated through Monsanto and the Bamboozle next turn. So you can see Language Hacker prioritizing, trying to see if he can challenge the Hanar on board.
Oh! The only issue with the Bamboozle is that all of a sudden your Hanar is gone. If you play it.
Brutal play here for Monsanto to shut down the Jungle Panther.
Is it time for Druid to meet its maker?
Yeah, I don't know about that. It
does feel like Monsanto's going to have pretty significant board presence once Language Hacker actually gets onto the board himself.
Right.
He does have Overgrowth and some 0-mana spells, Coin Innervate, so it picks up a card draw source. Kael'thas is unlocked, but doesn't pick up a card draw source, has no board presence whatsoever.
All right, well, if I'm Monsanto, I'm going to start building up the biggest board I possibly can. I like this Witchy Lackey here as well. I think I want to do it on the Miscreant, though.
What about a Bamboozle?
Sure. Because then we can get a 1-mana secret and keep it going. Oh, Netherwind Portal is particularly interesting.
Yeah, so is Noble Sacrifice in combination with Bamboozle. You get a 4-drop. No matter what he attacks.
Yeah. Interesting.
And,
Dirty Tricks is good.
yeah, probably Dirty Tricks.
Yeah.
Mirror Entity is interesting, though.
Yeah, there's only 3 minions in Language Hacker's decks, and they're all great minions. Kael'thas, Mount Seller, and I guess Ysera is still just like a big body.
Yeah, you just don't really have the opportunity to capitalize because you don't play a lot of spells or a lot of cheap spells. Yeah, I'm doing that. That's good. Put 8 power on board. Hit him. Ah, come on.
Oh my. This was a... Finds Mirror Entity, that's huge. Okay, I wasn't expecting this play. I was kind of expecting Faceless Corruptor for maximum board pressure, and he ends up going for the secrets.
So what's funny is that if he gets a Kael'thas and his Shadow Jeweler Jannar or Hanar stays on board, he can get secret, free secret.
Oh wow, this is going to be a very interesting series of turns here. Language Hacker is going to go first. Kael'thas, mirror entity. But Language Hacker isn't occupied with that. He wants to just build up the biggest board he possibly can. I love the turbo turn coming out here from Language Hacker.
I love that he goes fast.
Yes.
Because then he gets time once he sees his draws.
You know why? It's because Language Hacker, has cast enough Grandmasters matches where he's seeing the opposite happen.
Yeah.
Where people play too slow. And it's so painful to be on the other side. I would even dare say that if Fino, and I hate to bring up bad memories, but if Fino just played quicker, he probably wouldn't even been relegated.
Historians do argue that fact. Alright, now it's time for Kael'thas to show its true power. Dan, you thought that last Druid turn was powerful? Wait till you see this Highlander Rogue Kael'thas turn. You're gonna be blown away.
What? What is happening? He finds all of these great legendaries, although Lord Drax probably doesn't want it, but this is so interesting. In a deck that generates Lackey, he finds Dark Pharaoh.
He's still got his work cut out for him though. He does have Blackjack Stunner.
Yeah, Blackjack Stunner on the Kael'thas?
Probably, yeah. That's just his way to help pick apart the board. It wouldn't be able to be played next turn. And whoa, okay. Flame Ward.
Don't let the door hit you.
Alright, so taking a look at... Oh, he's not going to go Flame Ward. Yeah, he is. I was like, what the heck? Alright, so secrets that he has up. He has Pressure Plate, Noble Sacrifice, Bamboozle, Repentance, and Flame Ward. What in tarnation?
The way we got here feels like an adventure, a solo adventure boss that Language Hacker is going up against.
I'm telling you, I don't even recognize Hearthstone anymore.
It's like, how did you even get these assortment of cards? You must be Wow, that pressure play immediately onto the top minion that got that was from Ironbark. Gift of the Wild. Bamboozle.
Bamboozle, let's see
But
it.
first. Oh, but the Noble Sacrifice triggers second? Interesting. Okay. Was it because of the order?
It must have been. Because I've seen it triggered first every time. Almost every time.
And now Language Hacker's like, do I spend my attacks killing Kael'thas? And I think you do.
Or do I attack face and attack into Flame Ward, killing much of my board and giving my opponent Kael'thas again?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. That worked out quite well for Monsanto, I feel. That's not a bad... He can clean up this board nicely. Maybe not nicely. He can clean up some of this board. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah, let's think about this. So the first thing I'm thinking about is Faceless Corruptor. Sap feels very strong to me as well because it does remove both the minion and the effect buff that it has. So the Glowfly Swarm will no longer have the death rattle and the buffs. It'll just be a 2/2 token. The last option is to go for... Well, he's going to Witchy Lackey first, it seems like, and then Faceless Corruptor, the weaker minion. If that ends up being the case. I wonder if there's a case to play Dark Pharaoh here, too. Probably not. It's a little bit too negative. It's a little bit too slow.
Yeah.
In the shadows.
Wow, this feels bad. But, you know, Monsanto does have that Flame Ward. These are minions that are difficult to deal with. Whoa, Ysera makes his way into the hand.
Yeah. That's the last wave, though, and Monsanto just may have turned the corner enough to start getting some board. This is a Repentance still as the last secret, so Ysera as just being a minion that's on board is not really something.
Finally, all the secrets are dealt with. But I mean,
there's still one in the hand, Dan.
You're right. That was a one-mana deal 11 damage. Somehow Monsanto salvaged this situation and now can start counterattacking. Wow, pretty interesting stuff. Now, if I'm Monsanto, I think I want to maximize my tempo options. I still know my opponent has a Kael'thas and in hand for 9 mana, and while 9 mana is very expensive, it still means that he can build up a board if he finds, another series of draws.
So many options.
Yeah.
So, I think if I'm Monsanto,
Seal Fate and Dark Pharaoh to come.
I mean, yeah.
Maybe that doesn't feel like that's enough board presence, but I feel like that's enough board presence for me. Well, I guess it is. It's about the same because you'd be playing like Pharaoh Cat.
Yeah. I think I would consider a comic that lets me. Well, I guess that only lets you dagger up, so it's not that big a difference. This is investing into the future. Oh boy, Dream Portal comes out. It's a Malagos. Whoa!
All right, it was just one. We're okay.
I think you and I might have different definitions of okay.
I mean, he has one Moonfire left, and other than that, a Crystal Power. Those are the only spells that deal damage in his deck. This entire deck.
It's just a threat that it's a big minion, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd rather have a Deathwing or 4 tax is not that much. I'd rather have an 8/8.
Dang, you have high standards.
I do. For dragons, I have very high standards. I expect more of dragons.
Yeah. We have the Chrono Breaker, Wax Dread, the Emerald Explorer. I mean, these are more the expected outcomes of dragons. Bog Beam dealing 8 damage. And then he can power the wild. This is hard to stop. Now, if Monsanto draws Zephrys, that is an opportunity as well.
Yep.
Okay. Wow, has he really only invoked one time this game?
Oh, it's Highlander.
That's true. You're staring at 2, 4, 6, plus 7 is 13, plus another 6 is 19, 20 damage. It's not very reassuring.
You have not seen Savage Roar.
It's probably, is he going to Galacron and then Sap?
Yep, you can see Language Hacker's pumping his fist.
Yeah, that's a real bad turn for Monsanto relative to what he wants to be doing.
Yep.
Darkness wanes. Maybe.
So we gotta decide something here. You can't just sit idle or you're dead. Okay. Oh, this Van Cleave is still reasonably strong.
Yeah, this is about as much board presence as he could have hoped for. That is 16, 20, 26, 27.
From what we see.
Is that 28? So we need
like
Savage Roar. Oh, yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, Savage Roar is it. Language Hacker with Burst Sweep and Druid once again. will not be denied and advance
Wait, is there any
to
dragons?
the top 4.
Nah, I was gonna say, is there any dragons that could punish him? But there's no dragons that have immediate downsides, I don't think.
Oh, you drew the Moonfire. Get out of here. And that'll do it. Language Hacker with 3 games reverse sweeping Monsanto, sending Monsanto to the lower bracket. And hey, dressed to impress. Language Hacker looking good, playing good, advances to Championship Sunday and gets those coveted points, redeeming himself from last week where he narrowly fell in the group stages going into the elimination bracket. So a job done to Language Hacker. He is our first player through the top 4 in week 2.
Yeah, and he kind of squeaked in. He was 3-4. He was the only 3-4 player that made it into only 3-4 player that made it into the top 8. So just squeaked in on tiebreakers, and even on top of that, the only deck he won with today was Druid. Because he 3-0'd Delay with Druid.
Right?
Yeah.
You can sometimes just have a single deck carry you, but ultimately, I gotta say he really played well in some really tough turns, and he did also experience some pretty bad beats, but was a center back and back game after game. So well done to him. Monsanto will play the winner's delay, and then that'll be it for Friday night's games. So with this, we're going to get ready for the next match. That's right, Soleil versus Gal. We're not going to skip a beat here. We're going to go straight into the next